Yeah. I'll just cut that bit out.
I will edit the start.
Okay.
This is not what we're going for.
So week 8, we talked about obesity and stigma and all sorts of obesity in society, which was a really interesting lecture. How did you find it?
Very eye-opening, but also, I guess, kind of reinforcing things that I'd had kind of already noticed about the way we treat obesity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in our society, like white society. And you're just like, it's almost like making more sense as we go through it, and it's like talking about like the ideals and stuff, and you're like, yes, all things I hadn't noticed. But I like really enjoyed talking about like firstly hearing about like the traditional cultures, because it got me thinking about when I used to, like, I lived in Tanzania like just for a short bit of time, and it was so different there because like it's not cool to be skinny. It's like being fat is really celebrated because it's really a sign of wealth and that you're doing well, because it's like, look how much food I've been able to eat. So it was like quite funny because I remember like I lived with this Australian family, and the mum was saying like when she'd come back from Australia and had maybe put on a bit of weight, her friends would be like, "Oh, congratulations, you've increased," and she's like, "Yes, yeah, thank you." Yeah, just embrace it. But yeah,
it's so funny. That would never happen here.
I know.
If everyone comes back.
It should happen here.
Like friends of mine who've gone to the US and travelled, and all of them have come back and just been like, "Oh my god, I've put on so much weight."
Yeah.
Because they were just like, everything you eat there is so
calorie dense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't eat healthy.
Yeah.
And no one's like, "Oh, well done, I'm glad you ate so much." Everyone's like, "I need to go to the gym."
Right now. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. On that topic of like traditional cultures, and I know some stuff came up about studies they've been doing on like the Aboriginal population, and I found that really interesting when they said that, when they broke it down
with the language.
Yeah,
100%.
Speaking like traditional language in home actually had like lower rates of obesity.
Yeah.
I found really, really interesting.
Yeah, and that's a factor I would never have considered ever.
No, not at all.
And it just reiterates how much of a complex issue obesity is. Like that, like you can't just like narrow it down to that one factor or any single factor at all.
It's all multiple factors.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it made me think of. I was at a conference in April on rural health, and there was a dietitian who'd been working in Gulawinku, which is in the Northern Territory, and she was working in the area of like Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander. Like, it wasn't so much a focus on obesity; it was on like cardiovascular disease and diabetes. Yeah, so it's much more like
that's repercussions.
Yeah. And what they actually did was put the diet that they had formulated was actually reintroducing more traditional foods. And putting Indigenous people, the food that they were giving them, it was a macronutrient profile that was actually reflective of what
their ancestors.
What Indigenous people were eating prior to white people arriving.
Sure.
And what they actually found was when they were doing that was that they were actually seeing like really incredible things happening. In terms of like reversing like, you know, like people who were literally about to become type 2 diabetes, totally reverting, like people improving their lipid profiles. I just found it like a really interesting look at how important like culture and tradition is in people's health.
Yes.
And I think it's something that we don't factor in enough, especially in such a diverse diverse country as Australia. It's definitely very like one size fits all, and I really question whether that's like the right approach necessarily.
Completely. And it's like it doesn't take much statistical evidence to see that obesity and all the health issues is a massive issue in Australia for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities. So we're not doing something right in terms of what's provided and what's the norm, like for all forms of diet and what's available.
That's what I had to say about that.
Well said. But I think that's like, that was also mentioned in the lecture about the whole like correlation between food and class and like the lower socioeconomic groups and people and places in society where it's like, say, like a whole suburb of let's traditionally consider like lower socioeconomic, and they were saying like higher rates of obesity, like more likely to have fast food outlets in that area and stuff, like capitalizing upon that, which is tragic.
And so I grew up in the lower Blue Mountains. So the Blue Mountains has one McDonald's, and even that McDonald's, like when they announced that they were putting in it, no one wanted it. So it's a low impact McDonald's. So you can't see the sign for the McDonald's like going down or up the highway. Like the Golden Arch is at the same height as the roof of the restaurant, so it's not usually really high. And so it's got to be like really low. They're not allowed a playground. It's not 24 hours. And the next closest one going up the mountains is in Lithgow, which is a 70-minute drive away. But then you go to Penrith, which is...
Oh, that's our
time. That is our time. We're going over time, but that's fine.
Oh, Continue. I was
Yeah, but if you go to Penrith, which is literally like 15-minute drive from where I live in the Blue Mountains.
And like sort of traditionally considered...
so the Blue Mountains is like recognised as being like fairly like middle upper class. So rates pretty well.
So we've got one low impact Macca's, and then we get to Penrith,
and then you go to Penrith, and there are 5 McDonald's in Penrith alone.
It's crazy.
And there's 14 within a 10-kilometre radius. It's just like there's so much, and that's just McDonald's. Like the Blue Mountains has got nothing. It's got like, you can think of 3 Subways and 2 Domino's, and like that's either any big ones.
Did you watch that documentary that they put in the tutorial?
I did not.
Not yet. Oh, well, 100% watch it, because it's like, it kind of like reflects upon that, but in America, which is like almost like more like sort of exacerbated. And it's crazy. Like they're talking about Harlem, which is like also like a traditionally lower socioeconomic suburb, and I think they said like in a typical primary school, like 40% of kids were overweight. And it's so like the situation in America was just ridiculous, and they were just saying like it's so hard to get any change in society because like change has to be taken all the way up to Congress, where it's like the multinational corporations are able to like fund and influence elections, which like are then like almost indebted to them, and those are the ones who are like making the regulations in regards to fast food. And so they were saying like, you know, like school kids are so targeted. Like there's this like soft drink that is like made to target at kids, and there's no regulation stopping that. And it's like, I don't know, kids they don't get educated. They were saying on the show like they don't have that education, so they don't even know any different. And so there's all this like fast food advertising coming at them, and they like, why wouldn't they take that option? It appears to be cheaper, everyone eats it, it's everywhere. There's like a food desert where there's like a lack of like fresh food everywhere. I liked the quote. They just said, our health, their money. Like that's the trade-off there.
Yeah, it's all about a profit margin as opposed to like nutrition or health. Like, those companies don't care, and they have no incentive to care. Because they basically regulate themselves in government.
It's a total tragedy.
Crazy.
Anyway, I think we better call it at that.
Oh yes.
We could rant all day, but we won't.
We've got a lot to say. But I will see you in the comments section.
Like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.
Yay! Bye.